Good evening, and welcome to Missouri on the Fly podcast with tonight's guest, Bryan Walker. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Cardiac Mountain Outfitters, Woolly Bugger Fly Company, LOZ Lure, Lazy River Road Outfitters, Grumpy Platypus Hackle, and Andronimus Fly Company. And remember, everyone, September 10th at Montauk State Park is Veterans Free Fishing Day. We have a lot of great events coming for the vets. And if you're interested, just shoot me a message on Facebook and we will get you connected up to where you need to go. Good evening, Bryan. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thanks for having me on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I've heard so many great things about your boats. Can you tell me a little bit about your business?
Well, I'm the owner operator of River Rat USA. We make a river fly fishing raft, and been doing that for about 5 years now. And really coming on the last 2 years, got a lot of boats out there. Had a lot of fun. 3-seat, rowing with row. You can put a motor on them. Drop stitch floors in them. So fun little fun boats.
So, if I put this in a river, what kind of draft does this have in the river? Are we looking at 6, 8 inches, or 3 or 4?
3 or 4, depending on what kind of bottom it is. We've had it go through a couple inches of water, and you might bump and bob along a little bit, but it still makes it through.
Mm-hmm. So, what kind of weight capacity are we looking at? 3 250-pound men would be safe in there.
Oh yeah, sure. So we have it's rated at 1,200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big guy, and I can fish. We've fished 3 guys my size in it, without any trouble in, fast water, slow water, anything you can think of. So hanging out, netting fish, really stable. We've designed it to be the most stable uh, raft on the market for its size and its class. It's a little wider than the other boats in its class out there, keeping it more stable. Bigger tubes. The tubes are 2 inches bigger. That way, it's really, you can hang off of it. My grandkids climb all over the sides of it because they get tired of fishing and just want to play. And I don't have to worry about it going over. I don't have to worry about any of that.
That's nice. When you're in the boat, can you stand up and fish, say, in front of the front seat?
Yes. Yeah. If you're fly fishing, you're standing most of the time. You can stand up in the front. Has a front lean bar. We also have rear lean bars, so the back guy that's sitting in the back can stand and fish, really easily and comfortably. It's surprising how much space there really is in this boat. Once you get in it with all your gear, it's very fishable for 3 guys.
So you could put 3 guys in there. Could you get away with, say, a man, a woman, and 2 kids?
Yeah, we've seen that a ton. So the front seat is a quick disconnect seat, and so is the rear seat is a quick disconnect seat. So if you take the rear seat off, it gives you the full tray with no seat in it. I've seen people put a blanket on there and put 2 kids on that, no problem, or their dog. I've seen them also sit, put 2 kids up front, sitting there hanging off the front of the bow of the boat while mom and dad fish out of the back part of the boat. So you bet that isn't a problem at all.
What about assembly? Is it something that, say, I could take to the river in 10 minutes and be on the go? Or
yeah, maybe not 10 minutes. It'd probably be more like 20. But if you were fully deflated and everything was broken down, it'd take you probably 5 minutes, put the frame all together, and then another 15 minutes if you're pumping it up by hand, 15 to 20 minutes pumping it up, or getting it up to pressure. And then you just set the frame on it and 4-5 straps, strap it down, and you're in the water. So
Now, as far as maintenance, so say a guy bought one, he wanted to leave it aired up year round in his garage. Could you hang it from the ceiling, and do you put some sort of protectant on the boat itself, or?
no, I leave all of our demo boats inflated year round, and we
Mhm.
just either hang them, in the rafters during the winter. But we fish a lot during the winter too, so our boats are going in and out, with demos. So we leave them inflated. The only thing you need to do is when you come back, take the pressure off the tube, and just
Mhm.
crack the valve and take the pressure off of it, so it's just not all at full pressure. And then
Mhm.
clean it and rinse it out, wash it out. Um, Clean it with that 305 or some kind of conditioner like that, and it'll
Mhm.
last you for years.
Now, what about weight? So, are we looking at 100 pounds? Are we looking at 200 pounds? Or?
It's less than 200 pounds. You're with everything on it. Once you get the seats and the trays and everything in there, you're about 170 pounds.
Mhm.
Still easy for two guys to, load it on the top of a pickup rack or on top of a car, drag it through the weeds and brush, rocks, whatever, to the river, and then still be able to load all your gear in there and go.
Now, you talk about dragging it through the brush and stuff. What if you kind of drag it through briars and things like that? Is that really going?
Well, I'd keep him. I don't think I'd be dragging it through anything that had real stiff thorns on it. Depending on the
Mhm.
briar, I probably would miss a briar. But as
Yeah.
far as just normal, you know, dragging it down the trails or sliding it through the rocks to get to the river or something like that, you wouldn't have any problem. You'd still need to use a little common sense, on what
Yeah.
you're really going to drag it through. So, but we've dropped it off bridges. We've done everything that we can think of, try to, you know, either damage it or test it to see what it would do, and
Mhm.
it survived. We've slung it and lowered it off of ledges and, you know, down the side of a cliff to the river once. And so, there just isn't, these things can take a lot, but you still need to be mindful that it is an air chamber that you're dealing with.
Now, what about your warranty? Do you give a lifetime warranty, or like a limited
Yep.
lifetime warranty? How does that work?
No, we have a lifetime warranty on manufacturing.
Mm.
So if a seam comes apart, or if something fails, something comes, disconnected, or a weld breaks, we'll either fix it or replace it at our cost,
Mhm.
without any question about it.
So, what if a guy, say me, we have something that goes into the rivers here. Our uh, our area used to have lead mines in it, so they have this great idea of running vent pipes up through the river. I have no idea why, but they're about this big around. And there's certain sections of this one river where we catch smallmouth at, of course. There are probably a half a dozen of those that you get catch it on the right day, and they're just underneath the water where you can't see them. Say I
Yeah.
run into one and popped a hole in it. If I called you, would you explain to me how I would have to go about fixing that?
Oh, absolutely. The every boat comes with a patch kit,
Mm-hmm.
and if you happen to hit a strainer in the river, or you happen to catch something submerged, I've had that happen to us. We hit a submerged piece of rebar, and it put a hole in it, and we went ahead and used it as a testing thing. It killed the one. There's 4 chambers on the boat. It killed the front chamber, and we just took and flipped the frame around and put the dead chamber in the back. And we actually went down the rest of the river the rest of the day and fished all day. And
Nice.
so, but of course, if you have a problem, we'll walk you through getting it repaired. Or if it's something that's, really needs to have, then, we'd have you ship it here and we'll repair it here at our shop for you and send it back out.
Nice. I know a friend of mine, Ryan, of course, he's had a boat of yours for, I think, 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And he's told me something like well over 200 trips in his, and he has absolutely zero complaints. And that's pretty good. For a guy that guides every day or every other day at least,
Mm-hmm.
to have one of these boats on the river, that's pretty substantial. For it to continue lasting and being a great boat. And for a guy that wouldn't use one every single day, he might use it one weekend a month. I mean, that kind of boat would last the guy a lifetime.
Sure. Yep.
I would.
It's designed to last that long. It's well put together. We use all the highest grade parts and things that I can put on it. I put on it. There are no plastic seats. We use composite seats because the plastic ones break. And we use T6 1.5-inch aluminum. It's bigger than what other manufacturers are doing, just because I'm a big guy, and when I sit in it, I don't want to feel the frame flex, and it doesn't flex in ours. And so, yes, it adds just a little bit more weight, but what you gain in stability, and not having to worry about that. I've had guys stand on the front seat for a whole day and fish, using it like a casting platform, or on the tray. And they're just well put together. A motto that we have here that we use all the time is that our standard is everybody else's upgrade. We're sending it out. Everything's standard equipment for the price that we've got it at, and there's no upcharge. There's no upselling. I want to get the best piece of equipment that you can get for the best price out there to get everybody out there. Whether you're just coming into it, or you just want to float the river, or you're a seasoned veteran, fly fishing guide like Ryan, or a ton of other guys that are guides around here that are using our boats. It's just a good, solid piece of equipment.
Now, something that I find interesting is you say that you can put a motor on it. What size motor can you effectively put on it and still be safe?
You can put up to a 5-horse motor on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we've tested them at higher, but we can't, 5 horse is about, what you'd really want to be at or less. The 3.5, there's a lot of our customers that are using a 3.5 horsepower motor, and they say that's awesome. And, I use an electric 85-pound thrust trolling motor, whenever I go on the lake, which is not very often, but my grandkids every now and again like to go on the lake. And so I'll put that on and just putt around the shores, fishing for bass out here. So, and that works really well for me.
So would you have to buy a specific type motor, like a long shaft or a short shaft or anything like that?
Yeah, you'd need to at least get a long shaft motor. The short shafts are just a little bit, they cavitate a little under, the boat. But the long shaft seems to work really well. It's kind of a personal preference. I think, because I've had customers that have used it with a short shaft and some that use it with a long. So for me, on our gas power motor, I have a long shaft.
It's something that we use a lot here in Missouri are jet props. I don't know if you use that much in Utah, but I could see those being effective on it. But if a long shaft works better, then that jet prop's probably not going to get far enough down in the water to do what you need to do.
Right. I haven't heard. I've only heard of one person that's put a jet prop on it, and it's a guiding outfit in BC, Canada, Tanaka River Outfitters in BC, Canada. They have a couple of our boats up there, and they have a jet foot outboard that they put on that one, and it will go. It makes that boat really fly.
Oh,
But
I'm sure.
yeah. So they're and they use the crap out of it for floating moose hunts. They run it upriver and then they float back, to base camp and hunt moose out of it and do really well. So
That sounds interesting. I never hunted out of a boat like that for a big game animal.
yeah, I've been. Those guys are awesome up there. Like I say, if you ever want to go to Canada on you know, on any kind of hunt, they do everything up there. But that Tanaka River Guide Service is the one to go to with. They're awesome.
That's awesome. Well, I see a big advantage for one of these rafts. Like, excuse me, I pull a 35-foot camper behind my truck, and I drive a half-ton truck, so I can't pull a boat behind it. We don't have a lot of space, so this could go inside my camper or go in the bed of my truck when we go on the river. So that seems pretty effective.
Yeah. If I go anywhere that I take my camp trailer, I have one of those cargo trays that go on the back of my bumper of my trailer, and I can break the frame down and lay it in there and put the raft right on top of it and strap it down and go and take it wherever I need to go. When I get there, pull it out, inflate it, throw it in the back of my truck, and I'm to the river.
So what's the full length of the boat?
12 foot.
12 foot.
Yeah, what's 12 foot long. It's 58 inches wide.
58 inches wide. So that would pretty much fit in the back of any full-size pickup.
Yeah, it'll fit right in the back. In fact, it'll fit in the back of your mid-size four-wheel drives or trucks as well. It just might not fit. It'll fit slanted, or put it up on the bed rails, and strap it down on that. I like to do that when I'm in the back of my truck, is I'll put it up on top of my tonneau cover. That way I can put oars and life jackets and anchors underneath, underneath that tonneau cover and still have it all in the bed of my truck.
Yeah, that would work. I have a fold-up tonneau cover on my Dodge, and that sounds pretty effective.
Yeah.
So, how many people have you wedged in one? Say, if a guy wanted to take it to the river and they were just drinking beer and just floating down the river, I mean,
well, if they're drinking beer, I'd say I wouldn't wedge any more than 3. So, but because then it starts to cut into how much beer you can take, right? I haven't heard or seen any pictures of guys, people putting more than 3 or 4 in that, in one. I've had 5 of us in one, 3 adults and 2 kids. And my grandson, he hangs out the front, and my granddaughter, she just curls up in the back of the floor and plays with her stuff underneath the cargo tray and stays out of the sun all day. So, but so we've had up to 5 in there, and it starts to get pretty crowded at 5. I've had 3 and my grandson with us, or my granddaughter, and that's not too bad because they're still small enough they can just sit in front of somebody. But as far as adults, 3 adults, if you're fishing, is pretty much what you want, or is what you can fit. Now, that's the cool thing about us being the manufacturer. Nobody builds our frames for us. We build them all here in-house. So, if somebody wants to customize one or a custom frame or change some stuff, all of that's optional because we manufacture them. I'm not importing frames and not importing, or having somebody else build them that I'm getting them from. We do all of that.
That's awesome. Is your aluminum powder coated?
It is.
It is?
Yeah. Yep.
And that'll pretty much last a lifetime, that's for sure.
Well, it does last a long time, but it amazes me at how beat up these boats can get, with oars and people walking in and out, and and stuff like that. So they will chip up, over time, but that's just the way it is. If you're using it at a ton, I've seen guys that take really good care of theirs, and it looks like the day it came out of the box, and they fish it.
Mm-hmm.
They fish a lot. So it just kind of depends on how you take care of it.
So when you ship something like this, it's pretty large. It go like FedEx freight, UPS freight, something like that.
No,
Get to you?
we ship UPS. The whole boat comes in 4 boxes, and usually they all arrive at the same time. Every now and again, we'll have a box show up a day late, but yeah, 4 boxes to your door from by UPS.
That's pretty awesome. And as far as your instructions, do you provide like an instructional video of assembly, or do you have just a pamphlet to try to assemble it?
We're working on it. I keep saying that we've been working on it now for a long time, but I just haven't had the time or taken the time to sit down and put an instruction paper together and put it in there. We do have a couple videos that are on our Instagram page that goes through a setup and what it's like. And then sometimes if people are having a hard time, they just get on the phone with me and we walk right through it, and and it's together and up and running. But for the most sense, if you've seen even a picture of one, you can put it right together.
Mm-hmm. Now, when they slide together, do they have like pins that slide in there?
Yep. It comes with a set of pins that'll slide in the main tubes, and then a D-ring pin goes in there to lock them in. And when you get ready to pull them apart, pull one side of that D-ring, and it'll come apart, and that you leave your pins in there, and one D-ring to hold them in there, and then it comes apart in 7 sections. That way, when you go to put it back together, your pins are all there. They just slide right back together.
Nice. That's super nice.
Don't have to worry about losing. Yeah, you're not fiddling around with nuts and bolts and wrenches and worried about, I dropped the nut in the river. These are those like a trailer pin, slide through, and then it has a wire clip that goes over the top of it. And there's a couple of spares of those in there because inevitably you'll drop one. So.
Oh yeah, it's gonna happen.
Always.
So in the state of Utah, would you require in Missouri? We don't have to unless you put a motor on it.
Right. Utah's the same way. I don't have to register it unless I put a motor on it. Each one of these boats come with an HIN number attached or in a packet with it, and so that if you put a motor on it, you have a whole identification number and a bill or a title, per se, that you can then register it with.
Okay. I know there are some states out there that if it floats, you got to register it. So
yeah,
so folks know that you have the ability to do it. You don't have to go through some rigmarole to figure it out.
Nope. The whole identification number will come with the boat, and then it also has the first purchase. Basically, it's just a title, saying that you're the first buyer. You bought it from us. I sign it and send that out just for legal, so that they have a title for it.
So would this be really effective if you say you just built you a little flatbed trailer with a plywood sheet on the bottom of it, put some, like a vinyl coating on the plywood. That would be a good trailer to haul something like this on, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, man, I've seen these hauled on all kinds of things. Those little Harbor Freight, fold up trailers. I've seen guys build, a raft trailer out of those a lot. There's, a jet, our trailer that we use is an old jet ski trailer that I got and tore it apart and cleaned it all up and put new bunks on it and stuff and made it to where we could haul doubles on it. So, I mean, you can convert almost any trailer into to haul it. We're actually probably early summer next year, we'll hopefully be coming out with a trailer as well that'll be designed just specifically for these rafts that we've been working on this fall. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What about like rod storage or storage for anything in there? Is there something built into the frame for that, or?
It's built, the brackets and that are built into the frame, but we do have a rod, what we call our rod vault, which bolts on. You can put one on each side, so you have 4 rod capacity, or you can put it on the one side, but it's totally enclosed except for the reel is the only thing that sticks out on the end. Everything else is closed all the way down. I don't know about anybody else, but I always have guys that'll get out on the left side of the boat and they're always either kicking your fly rods or my grandkids will jump on them and inevitably or something. So I hated getting them broken, rod tubes that are exposed through the center there. So we made ours so that they were 100% enclosed in a case. You flip up a lid, it opens up half of it, and you can slide it out, slide it back in, shut the lid.
That's nice. Is it an extra cost to get those rod cases, or do they come with the boat?
It is on that. That's not included in our base package. So our base package, our drift package that we produce the most of is just it has everything you need in it to get in the water. And then we, and we wanted to make sure that we had everything covered for the basics, whether you floated or whether you fished or you're just, going to play around on the lake, whatever. And so it comes with the rods, or not rods, oars, comes with the front lean bar, the 3 seats, your anchor system, the pulleys, and the cargo tray. And then from there on, from then on you can add whatever you want to it. We can either customize the colors, customize, the rod storage, put a rear lean bar on it, whatever you want there.
Is it a self-bailing raft, or do you have to bail if you get water in there? Do you have to bail it yourself?
It can be both, whatever your preference is. Yeah.
Is it a added expense to make it self-bailing, or?
It's not. It isn't right now. No. Right now we're adding that. If you want it self-bail, then we make it self-bail here before we send it out to you, and at the same cost.
Nice.
I can't say that it'll always be that way because when we give a bunch, it's actually it takes a lot of time to, by the time you inflate them, make them into self-bail, and then, have to roll them back up. It takes a bit of time, but for right now, it's included. You can have either or, sealed bottom or a self-bail.
So here's a crazy question. If I wanted to, just out of the blue, if I sent my 12-year-old and 10-year-old daughters down to the river and said, hey, here's a boat, dad's arms broke or something like that, could you two assemble it? If I stood there and kind of told them what they needed to do, could a kid assemble the boat?
Absolutely. My grandson can put, he's 13, he can put put one together, and he works out here in our shop, and he can put a whole boat together by himself. Now, he knows how to do it. He's done a lot of them and had our help. But yes, if you're there, you could get it done easy enough.
Mm-hmm.
So,
a lot of people that I have listened to my podcast, something that I always push is fly fishing can be affordable for anyone. And I don't want you to, you don't have to put any price point out or anything, but I know from experience and from what I've looked through is you're one of the most affordable boats on the market. And the quality that I see, it far exceeds the price point.
sure.
So if you want to speak about that a little bit with the listeners,
Sure.
well, anybody can get this boat.
I'd love to. I get that question. I'm a firm believer in you're going to get what you pay for, right? As
Mm-hmm.
far as, I can either go to Walmart and I can buy $20 shoes, or I can go someplace else and buy maybe a pair of $40 shoes. One will last me maybe 3 weeks. One will last me a year,
Mm-hmm.
And so that I get that question a lot because we are a lot less than the other people out there doing the same thing. And I've done that on purpose. I've done everything I can to try to keep the price point affordable. I'm just an average guy. When I got into fly fishing, and it wasn't that long ago, I've been fly fishing for 12 years now. And, when I went and started looking at equipment, I went, holy heck. You can spend, thousands of dollars on rods and $1,000 on, apparel and waders and boots. And it's just expensive. And then, when I got looking at boats, because after I'd waded the river enough, I was like, I want to float, not, wade. And I started looking at the boats that were on the market, and I was like, holy cow. These are just, a new drift boats, 15 to 20 grand, so that's why I set up trying to just build myself something. And we got onto this, and I have a fabricating background. And we started, and I thought, man, we can do this for a lot less than, what other people are doing it for, because we can do it in-house, keep our price down, and be able to put a really good piece of equipment for the price out, for people to use. And I get a lot of people say, hey, can you do this? Hey, you ought to do that. Hey, you ought to do this. And if it's going to increase the cost, I really, really have to look at it. It better either increase the value, or I just don't want to do it because I don't want to, I want to keep it in that price, in the price point where it's affordable for just everyday guys, whether whether you're living out of it or whether I just need something I want to go with the kids in on the weekend, whether you're and that's what I really tried to do. That, and then we put a big emphasis on creating a community of people based around these boats. And I think we've done a good job at both. One, our boats are great, and two, our community is growing and growing, every month. And it's fun to hear people that didn't know about each other beforehand sharing ideas about their boats and what they've done to do this or what they've changed on it, and the emails and pictures that we get back. It's cool to hear and see people, come together talking, and to know that these boats have brought them together to do that. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but
it did. It did. I always talk to people. I say, there's fly rods out there that cost anywhere from $100 to $5,000, just depending on what you're looking for. But you can catch the same fish with the $100 rod as you could with that $5,000 rod.
Right.
Same goes for reels. You can buy the $50 reel or you can buy the $300 reel. you can do the same thing with the cheap reel as you can with the expensive.
Right.
And, you know, for years and years and years, I don't know if it was this for you, but I always had this picture in my mind that you had to be a doctor or a lawyer or something like that to be a fly fisherman. It's kind of like golf was in the early years. Everybody thought you were a well-off guy if you played golf or if you
Yeah.
fly fished. Um, and as I grew, I started fly fishing when I was I don't know how old I was, 10 or 12 when the River Runs Through It came out. It was
Oh yeah.
really what pushed me. I was a kid, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. And I've looked at drift boats. I've been down on the White. I've been in drift boats. Been in jet boats, and to me, it seems more effective to have a boat that you can go in 3 inches of water or 30 foot of water with than
Sure.
have a boat that if you go in 3 inches of water with it, you're going to bust the bottom out of your $20,000 boat. It just doesn't make
Right.
no sense to me.
Yeah.
So rafts kind of give you the all around um, option that you really need. Um,
I mean, they do have their niche, and I'll never, a drift boat has its place. Don't get me
oh, it
wrong.
does.
A drift boat has its place. Now for me, I don't want to afford a drift boat, and I'm not I'm not that technical of a rower, and so the raft is much more forgiving on a
Mm-hmm.
big river or a little river. Um, for me to make a mistake. If I make a mistake and hit the rocks, I'm going to bounce, or I'm going to, be able to spin off of it without damaging anything, but, and that's where in low water and being able, just the durability, not having to worry about cracking something, or banging the bottom out of it, they're, that's their niche. That's what they're good for. Very forgiving.
Now, is this something that you could go in pretty extensive rapids with if for some reason you didn't know where you were at?
I get asked that a lot. And so to answer the question, yeah, you can. Now, we classify these for class 3 rapids. And I'm finding that class 3 to some people is different than other people. And so I always go back to, whoever's rowing this needs to have common sense, right?
Mhm.
And if you can't row that big water, then I wouldn't take it in that big water.
Yeah.
I have one of the guys that helped me design the frame. He did all the CAD drawings for me. Is a river guide on the Colorado River, and he takes this boat down the Colorado in some water that is just crazy, and he loves it. He says for the maneuverability and to be able to just spin it and get out of stuff. And I've been down that river with him in it, and he can row it. I'm not going to try to do it because I just can't row that. I'd end up probably tipped over or whatever.
Hmm.
But any normal rivers that class 3 or not, they'll handle that just fine. We have these boats in all kinds of water, and I still just go back to use common sense. What's your ability? And it would be better to derate your ability a little bit than it would to inflate it and then get in trouble. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense.
So,
What about you? A lot of sections of river in Missouri we'll go through 300 or 400 yards of kind of riffly type water, and then we'll get into wide open water that slows down a lot. How does it move through that slow water really well? Do you have to paddle a lot, or does it move pretty effectively across that slow water when it's moving slow?
no, you can move it right across that. I mean, like I was in Missouri fishing 2 weeks ago, and you guys in the river we were on does have a lot of slack water, where it's just flat and it doesn't, no current that you're gonna feel pulling you along, and you just a couple forward strokes and let it coast and fish, and a couple forward, and we moved through that. If you wanted to, you could really row through it. Once it gets moving, it rows really, really easy. You can spin this boat on a dime. In fast water, you can get it to slip really easy. It's just a very manageable and maneuverable boat.
Well, something we haven't talked about yet is the paddles. Are they meant something you manufacture, or do you get paddles from an outside supplier?
No, I get our oars come from Cataract Oars they're made here in Salt Lake, in our hometown or our home state of Utah, and I get those from those guys, just for the fact they're carbon winding, and I don't want to do that, I don't have the equipment to do that, and they make a fantastic oar and a fantastic blade, and so we just go with them.
So are they a one-piece oar, or are they?
Ours are 2-piece, just to keep it in that portability, thing, because they are 8-foot oars, and so if you have a 1-piece, then now you're trying to fit oars in, somewhere, and where where ours come in 2 pieces, they just, pop together, fold up, they'll lay inside the boat and stay right there, and you don't have to worry about them. But there's some people that don't like the split oars either, because you get a little flex in them, and so we can do solid oars as well.
So I know a lot of crazy people do crazy things. I know I'm that guy. I had my kayak. You would have thought it was a bass boat, where I had put graphs and things on my kayak. And is that something that you could put on one of those? If a guy really wanted to, could he stick a graph and a small Nike head battery on it?
What was it?
A graph, fish finder.
Oh yeah, I have people that use these on just lakes, and they put a fish finder on it and run it down the probe off the back of the motor mount right there and into the water, and they use it all the time. So yeah, and they love it.
That sounds
anything that you can put on another boat. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's going to call me on that. But you can add just about anything to this frame that you could have, or want out of a boat, other than stuff that might screw down or bolt down to the floor, needs to be on the frame. But we have casting platforms for these boats. We run them with lights on them. Ryan uses his boat at night, and he has lights on his. It looks like a Christmas tree. He sent me pictures the other day, and I was like, I thought they were going to a festival or something. And he fishes at night with it. So pretty much anything you can think of, you can get done on it.
With the lights, it sounds like it's pretty good all around opportunity to get where you want to go and do what you want to do without, breaking the.
Yep. It's a good platform to launch it into, into whatever you want to do. If it's just a joyride or floating the river with your family, or hardcore fishing, or just, hey, I just want to throw it on a pond, let my kids paddle it around, either one.
What about saltwater? Can you put it in saltwater?
I've had it in salt water. I haven't left one in salt water, or had it tied up to another boat for a while and just left it in that. So I don't have a whole bunch of experience with that, but we've had it on salt water before. Once we get it off, we just spray it off real well, and we haven't had any problems with it.
We spend several weeks out of the year at Navarre Beach in Florida. Like in the Sound, that would be, you don't have all those crazy big waves, and you could definitely do some fishing with something like that there.
Yeah, that's what we we took these boats down to Florida, and we threw them on another jet boat across the bow, and we jetted in somewhere. And then when the water got shallow, we threw the boats or the rafts off. We got in that, and we fished it with one guy pulling it. And we fished off a platform in the front, and we had a great time. When no one was around, didn't have to worry about people or whatever. And then when we were done, we just we pulled it back up on the other boat, and then we ran back into the dock, or to the lawn.
That's pretty amazing.
So yeah.
Well, let's cover our sponsors one more time. Again, I want to thank Cardiac Mountain Outfitters, Woolly Bugger Fly Company, LOZ Lures, Lazy River Road Outfitters, Grumpy Platypus Hackle, and Andronimus Fly Company. Without these guys, this wouldn't be possible. Thanks, everyone, for going out there and purchasing things from them. They really appreciate it as well. All right, Bryan. So I've heard all these great things. So I'm convinced. Hopefully everybody else is convinced. I know a guy personally that spends a couple 100 days a year on his, and he loves them. So if you're interested, look Bryan up. Bryan, if you'd like to tell them your phone number, your website, everything about it.
They can find us on the web at riverratusa.com. That'll get you to our webpage. At riverratus on Instagram. If you have questions, want to talk to other people that have them, there's a ton of people on there to be more than happy to give you any information. And if you can find somebody in your state or wherever you're at to try one out, give us a call. Our number's on our webpage. We'll even help you find, one of our customers in your state, and most of them will have no problem, getting you out to demo a boat or be able to let you, come down and take a look at it, kick the tires on it or whatnot. So.
Well, thanks, Bryan. I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. And everybody, please go to our YouTube page, give us a like, give us a follow. Check us out on Facebook, Missouri on the Fly podcast or on Facebook. And we also have a website at MissouriOnTheFly.com. Go check it out. Bryan, we shall talk again. If you hang out here for a few minutes, we'll close out.
You bet. Well, thank you. Thanks for having us on and, talking about our boats. We love doing that almost as much as making them. So thank you.
I'll see you all next week.